So the teachings recently on forgiveness and a BBC that Venerable did the other day is still in my mind. And a few days ago, I had a vivid memory of a dream that I had years ago and an experience that followed that dream that I wanted to tie into the Dharma teachings that have really impacted me from last weekend. And it's going to come in the form of a story. In 1996, I was 41 years old, and I was living in Pennsylvania. My life was good. I had a family, nice job, being close to my dad, my brother, my sister, nice job, nice roommates, nice living situation, some good friends, but restless nonetheless. A good friend had died at 42 years and left a really big impact on me. And as Venerable said during the BBC a few days ago, I was living not very consciously. I was on automatic a lot, doing what I thought I should be doing, or maybe just distracting myself kind of aimlessly without any purpose. So in July of 1996, I decided I was done with the East Coast and set my sights on Seattle, where a number of people I had met in a journey and part of my life had lived. And so in order to help me move, my sister traveled with me and helped me drive this rental truck, which was mostly filled with art supplies and plants 3,000 miles. 13 years before that, we had taken a cross-country trip from Vermont to Idaho with a 4-year-old and a 95-pound St. Bernard in the back seat, so I figured she would be game for yet another adventure across the country. I had left friends and family a number of times before, so it seemed just like another example where I didn't have any purpose in life, and when that happens, you go someplace else and see if you can find it outside yourself, 3,000 miles away. So somewhere around the Midwest somewhere, I had this dream. I don't remember the details of it, but very strongly this image of where I came toe to toe with a snake that had diamonds on its back. It was either in front of me on the floor in a very brightly lit room, or it was up in the air. And as I watched it, it shed its skin and then disappeared out of sight. Now, in some spiritual traditions, a snake shedding its skin represents transformation, healing, renewal. It seemed auspicious, and I am sure that unconsciously I was imputing added significance onto my journey from this dream. It goes a long way for somebody who's living a basically aimless, purposeless life to suddenly find some auspicious sign. Something profound might happen in Seattle. I might meet somebody important. My life might change. I'm so excited. I wonder what it means. So then we drove through the Dakotas, and it was pretty hot at that time, and so we did a day hike. And Jane was in front of me about 10 feet. We were walking through a glade. The Dakotas are extraordinary landscape. We were in the Badlands. And as I was walking through this gladed trail, what comes across my path but a 4-foot snake with diamonds on its back crawling right in front of me, quietly, pleasantly, just crawling, exactly the kind of snake I had in my dream. It was startling, to say the least. So I never forgot that dream or that encounter, and maybe it's just coincidentally, but in 1997, I met the Dharma and Venerable Children. So my whole little projection of meeting something important in my life sort of came through. But little did I know that the Dharma and my teacher would guide me into needing to shed some major painful hurts from the past, and some unhelpful mental habits, identities, and my erroneous conceptions I had about myself, just like that snake in my dream. So in the forgiveness retreat, Venerable talked about what we carry with us from the past prevents us from forgiving those that we perceive as harming us, and really being able to actualize our Buddha potential. And until I met the Dharma, I didn't think I had any choice on how to see my life, but as emotionally damaged due to the events in my life, that I could never shed that skin of deep woundedness. It was permanent, and I lived my life through that filter. That was who I was. With the Dharma, especially through purification and thought training teachings, I have seen that I have a choice to view my life in a much bigger perspective, and that I have gained the tools to create the causes for what I want, which is to grow in the Dharma deeply, walk the Bodhisattva path. But to do that, I've had to shed some pretty old, useless, harmful, suffering thoughts, which takes time, compassion, steadfastness, gentleness, and determination. I mean, it's painful shedding a skin that erroneous conceptions and false narratives have constructed, that stifle our growth because I really believe that they were part of who I was. If I'm not that suffering self, then who the heck am I? Bring out the skin. So, just to bring this analogy more to life, the shedding the skin. Okay. So, the snake skin is a wonderful analogy for our minds. They do it about 12 times a year. They continue to grow it because the skin inside grows, but the outside skin doesn't grow to grow with the growing of the snake. So, like our harmful, limiting, false narratives we tell ourselves and believe do not support our growth, like the snake skin. It becomes constricting. So, like the snake, with the Dharma, we are growing out of this poorly fitted, tight concept of who we think we are. Secondly, shedding or sloughing of the skin removes harmful parasites. Likewise, old mental or emotional habits give rise to afflictions that just feed on our minds and cause suffering. So we've got the mental projections, the skin, and then we've got these mental afflictions that arise. How it happens with this snake who used to be in the skin is even a little more interesting. Just prior to shedding, the snake skin turns bluish and its eyes become opaque, hindering vision. Similarly, after so long, we are really blinded and crippled almost by the self-defeating beliefs. They make us feel very vulnerable to the winds of karma and samsara in general, very tight and very hurting. And then it works on tearing. It rubs its nose against some abrasive surface, crawling through tight quarters, sliding out of the skin, leaving the old skin inside out, much like a child peeling off a sock. The process can take from a couple of days to a couple of weeks, depending on the size and the body condition. But what it does, this abrasion is like tearing open the outer layer. So when we're working on our lies that we believe is pretty much like being in a rock tumbler, being scraped up, getting the sharp points chipped away, so too does the snake. To require transformation, it must actually rub the surface of the face in order for itself to emerge, chipping off the old lies, tearing off the old falsities. It's critical, however, that the snake remains undisturbed during this process. Snakes have eye caps instead of eyelids, and if these thin layers of skin do not properly shed, blindness can result. Also, the remaining skin can harbor parasites, possibly leading to disease and bacteria, can restrict blood flow, and potentially lead to the loss of body parts. So while we're doing all this shedding, folks, these old narratives, false narratives, these constructs that we built limiting ourselves, we need to bring some gentleness, some fortitude, some compassion to the process, or we will injure ourselves. I mean, if we're going to be beating ourselves over the head with a hammer, or we're going to abandon the journey, or we're going to run away or hide. So it can get tender, it can get hard, to remember all those constructs are about as ephemeral as the skin, as impermanent as the skin, with no basis in reality to exist. So let's shed the limiting concepts and stories we tell ourselves and transform our minds so that our Buddha nature can come forth, emerge in order to be the greatest benefit.